ta terre de nos aïeux.
The French version, dude. Have you ever? I don't think I've ever heard the French version of "O Canada" before.
I think the official version has both languages. Yeah.
Well, the official version starts, I think, in French and then ends in English, or they do it. It's either one or the other.
Yeah. First verse, second verse, kind of freestyle.
Yeah, exactly. The second half, because the second half of that clip, she's talking about, she starts singing in English. But anyway, we are back. It's the Grandstand. I'm F. Knowles, aka Ryan, my actual name, and we've got Puxan, aka P Money in
What's up,
Paris. What's good, dude? We had a break from F1, but we did not have a break from racing.
No, man. Just like we had, one of the most anticipated weekends with, Indy and Monaco. A couple of weeks later, we have Le Mans, which for me might be the best race in motorsport history. So I was super psyched to see it, and obviously super psyched to see Ferrari win something this year. So yeah, man, I'm happy.
Yeah, man. Well, let's roll the intro, get into it, because we've got a race coming up, but I do want to talk about a little bit about Le Mans.
A question for all of you except Romain Grosjean.
To whom it may concern, fuck you.
More ladies in the paddock? Yeah, more paddock access to some women. There's too many dudes.
I don't really have a lot to comment on that, except that he was being a pussy.
And we're back. Le Mans was, I got up pretty early actually to watch the end, because it was 10. The finish was at 10 a.m. here in New York. But so I got up.
Is that early for you?
No, that's not early. I was saying I got up at like 6:30 to watch the finish on a Saturday. Or Sunday.
Yeah, you caught some good racing in the end there. I mean, Le Mans is so exciting, and obviously you can't watch 24 hours unless you're. I mean, if you do, then fair play to you.
If you're a fucking psychopath or you do a lot of drugs.
I haven't done it, or other social things you're skipping out on,
some extracurriculars.
But no, man, I love it. Here race start is at 4:00 p.m. So if you're having a night, you come back a little late, well, you have some racing to watch. You can watch an hour here and there, and then of course the end, you got to watch the last few hours. And this year, Ferrari versus Toyota, I wasn't really expecting Ferrari to have this much pace, to be honest. But as the weekend went on, like the couple of weeks went on with qualifying, and then it all came together. A few scares though.
What a race! Like honestly, it was almost the entire race. There was crazy action on track. A lot of incidents this year. And
first lap, Cadillac in the wall.
Oh yeah, and it was interesting too, because there was a little bit of there was a big debate about whether they have a rule in endurance racing where you can actually, you have to basically go slower in certain parts of the track if there's if there are weather conditions, or
the slow zone.
The slow zone, and there was debate that they should have slow zoned certain parts of the track as cars were going through there. And we had one car that goes straight into the wall in wet conditions. But Toyota, who has dominated the top of endurance racing, was dethroned this year by Ferrari.
Oh my God. 50 years after their last participation in the highest category, Ferrari comes back in the hypercar and crushes it, man.
Yeah.
Crushes it. We got redemption for Giovinazzi.
Yeah, Antonio
Ooh.
Giovinazzi, racing Jesus.
Yeah.
Not with the long hair anymore, though.
Yep.
He's since cut it.
He did. And it's nice to see Italian drivers driving those. I mean, those cars are sexy.
Ferrari looks particularly good.
I love cars that cover the wheels. Like, it's just something, it just makes the car look so different aerodynamically. It looks like a real racing car. I love it. And they're fast and, oh man, makes me want to watch way more endurance racing again. And it's actually a category that Ferrari has a shot of winning. So
I
that's
mean,
always nice.
It really was. We posted something on our Instagram, and Ferrari fans had a little bit of there was a moment of, wow, we're not as, maybe there's obviously some people out there who are just strictly Formula One fans, but if you're a fan of the brand, I can imagine that it gave you some hope, which is dangerous.
And and also I feel like as a Ferrari fan myself, we overdid the celebrations because we suck so much in F1. So you have to compensate.
There was a lot of celebrating going on. I mean, like on track, off track, Ferrari waving the flag, hanging out of the drivers hanging out of the doors. I mean, that's
Le Mans for you, man.
Yeah, it is
the greatest race in motorsport, in my opinion.
It truly is, though. I think that's one thing that I really kind of took from this year. We obviously have in motorsport, we have the Triple Crown, which is the, winning Le Mans, Monaco, and the Indianapolis 500. And, obviously a fan of all three races, and, resident IndyCar guy here. But after watching this race, it's hard to debate that Le Mans is the hardest test for a driver. Especially when you're watching the race at, like, if you see it at like 2 or 3 in the morning, you're like, God, these guys have to drive. I can barely drive in the dark, not in race conditions.
On the highway, yeah.
Yeah, on the highway. So maybe I need to be going, 200 miles an hour on a straight in order to keep me up. But
well, not only do they drive at night, they also have slower categories that they need to pass. And so just having that awareness also on track, and it was raining also during the night. So much respect for those guys. And as we said, it was 50 years since Ferrari had raced in that category. And also it was the 100th year celebration since the first Le Mans. Not the 100th race, because there have been some cancellations due to the World War, but the 100th anniversary.
Yeah. First race was in 1923. And funny enough, I didn't know this. Le Mans was started to test out new types of automobile technologies that were being launched, in for consumer use, like in larger scale production. So that's how you got many different categories, or one of the reasons why. And yeah, man, it was an exciting race. I got a question though. I'm curious. We've seen the hypercar class grow over the last few years, and while endurance racing is a completely different type of racing than Formula One, is there anything that Formula One might be able to take away from the evolution of the hypercar class in terms of in terms of pure racing?
Without getting into the details of it, I think there's one aspect of hypercar that I like. It's called the balance of power. And that is
very controversial this week, by the way.
Yeah, basically giving the fastest cars weight penalties, like giving them less to place on the car. And if you look at what's going on in F1 right now, you got Red Bull totally dominating. I don't know. I think purists would say no, because I think the cost cap is one way to do that. So I don't know if you can do both, but why not look into that? Why not? I mean, I'm sure they did. You have to look at what's going on in all racing categories. Personally, I think if this keeps going, it's something that could make racing tighter. Why not? They do it in other categories too, so it's not just Le Mans.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I think, it was just really fun to watch that battle happen. I mean, Toyota has dominated the last few years. However, the ability to see these classes kind of grow the way that they have, especially in hypercar. We had, I think, 17 entries this year. and there weren't as many last year. But I don't know. I don't know if there's anything that can be taken away from it's such different styles of racing, different cars.
Yeah, let's just celebrate it. It was
Yeah, it was
an
fun to
amazing
watch.
race. We had a great Indy this year. We had a pretty decent Monaco, and we had a great Le Mans.
Yeah,
Let's go racing, baby. And now let's go to Canada. A little less exciting, but we're still there.
yeah. Canada. Well, here in New York, I don't know if you heard. I mean, yeah, you did hear about this, but we had Canada, Quebec has been experiencing incredible wildfires over the last few weeks, and they've gotten so bad that there was a weather pocket that basically was pushing all of the smoke south, and it got to a point where even here in New York, it looked like it was 9 p.m. When it was actually like middle of the afternoon. It was crazy how dark it was, and the sky was orange. There was big conversation about, well, if the air quality was at one point, New York had the worst air quality of any city in the world. Like by far, it was like
worse than New Delhi.
Worse than New Delhi, worse than certain cities in Bangladesh. It was crazy. It was nuts.
It was nuts with that orange hue to it. I thought it was a filter at first, and then I realized, holy shit! And
no, the air straight up smelled like smoke.
And it's nuts how far it went down. It went down to Philly and probably even more south. But it seems like we're going forward with a race this weekend, and that it will not be the second race that's canceled because of global climate change.
Crazy to think about. Yeah,
but still, we need to. Yeah, this is the Earth is trying to tell us something, but obviously the grandstand is not here to solve that problem.
No. There were big questions about whether the race was going to happen, but it does look like we're going to move forward.
Right. It seems like it's under control, right?
Yeah. Or at least, I don't know I haven't seen the latest, but the weather pattern has changed and the smoke is being blown in a different direction at this point. So,
all right.
But we're back at the Circuit Jacques Villeneuve, right?
Gilles Villeneuve.
Oh, he's Jesus. Yeah. That's his son. Oh my
the OG.
Yeah, the OG. Yeah.
Who raced for Ferrari.
Home race for Lance Stroll.
What?
Yeah, what? Hell yeah, let's go. I'm gonna sit in the land stands.
Is there a land stand? We should.
Oh yeah, he's got his own grandstand this year.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah. He always has his own grandstand though.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Even Nicholas Latifi got his own grandstand, which is I don't know who's sitting in that. Probably fucking empty.
Pour one out for Latifi real quick.
Yeah.
And let's move on.
Yeah. And that's going to be the Nicholas Latifi section of this episode. But Aston Martin is on the charge. Lance Stroll's home race. Fernando Alonso, in typical Fernando form, basically came out in the last week or so and said that he's basically going to be taking no prisoners the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember the post-race conference in Barcelona. He was asked if he's worried about the Mercedes pace, if his streak of podiums is coming to an end. He said, no, we're going to crush them next round, and I will not finish off the podium until the rest of the year. He obviously said that ironically and sarcastically, and but Aston Martin does have updates coming. So as I was saying on the last episode, the whole ebb and flow, this is going to be a good test for Merc as well to see how they fare against Aston Martin, who I think is going to be back closer to the top this weekend.
I think we will see a more resurgent Aston Martin versus where they were in Barcelona. Personally, I think it felt like it almost felt like Barcelona was a little bit of an anomaly for them this season.
It really was, yeah.
After Fernando's comments, it's kind of, I kind of have to believe him at this point when he says shit like that.
Well, I think they know their update schedule, and he is playing with the press in perfect Fernando style. I'll tell you one thing: he's not going to be out qualified by Lance this weekend like he was in Barcelona. So he'll rectify that.
You don't believe he will?
I don't think so. I think that was only due to him making that mistake, which in the end is his fault in Q1. last time around. He'll be back on top. Remember last year he put it on the front row with Alpine, so he likes this track. But a lot of drivers like this track.
Interestingly enough, going into this weekend, I heard a rumor that Aston Martin is looking to the future and that there could be a possibility that Fernando instigates someone taking Lance Stroll's seat. Now that is one of the biggest things I've read this week. The source was the Daily Mail, so I don't know how legit it could be, but I wouldn't put it past Fernando to instigate, to get a I don't know why he would want a different teammate there. It's like,
so do you think Fernando's plan is to build a hypercar for Aston Martin so that Lance goes and wins that for a few years?
Yeah, who knows, man? He's always up to something, that dude.
Oh man, I think that's not happening ever unless Papa Stroll really gets pissed off at Thanksgiving next year.
He's Lawrence Stroll is also he's a take no prisoners kind of guy as well. So we'll see. But
I mean, come on, it's his son.
Yeah, well, listen, sentiment only goes as far as so far, right?
Right, but
money talks.
Money does talk. And would Fernando have thought about it? Probably.
Yeah, 100%.
Will it happen? No,
I don't know. But anyway, silly season will. This is actually about when silly season truly does get underway.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
We're not getting into that yet. The battle for P2 is truly heating up in the constructors, and I wonder if Mercedes can do another double podium. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Fernando gets back on personally.
Yeah, that's a big ask because double podium means, the top step is taken by Max, as we all know. Let's just give him that right off the bat, barring any incident. Maybe Max puts it in the Wall of Champions. The final turn in Montreal is known to collect a lot of world champions. Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, Ayrton Senna. I think Lewis hit it once. Let's see. Hasn't happened yet for Max, so maybe that could be a factor. There could be weather. Okay, let's just say that we're playing for P2 and P3. Don't forget Checo. He's on the back of two horrible races, so that only leaves one spot on the podium. I think Mercedes will fight it out with Aston. I think it's going to be a dogfight. And right now, I'm not sure. It's 50-50. I think it's going to be race conditions.
Lewis loves this track, by the way.
Lewis loves this track. First win was in Canada.
Yes, it was. Certainly was.
So was Danny Ricks.
Yeah, well, Danny Ricks not on the grid this year. As much as we love him. I think... Yeah, my perspective is I think Merck has a really strong weekend, but I do think it's going to be a battle between them and Aston, which I'm excited to see. It would be super fun to see to see Lewis and Fernando go toe to toe.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
Especially
if they're fighting for that podium.
Yeah, I'm sure Fernando's going to have some snarky ass comment for Lewis afterwards, like he doesn't know how to drive unless he's in the front. But
if they hit, usually that's what happens. And if Lewis beats him, he says, "Oh, Lewis is such a champion," because it makes him look better, right? That's the whole Fernando thing. Merck had their big update last year in Barcelona. They did well. This is the real test. If they do well at this race, then you Merck fans out there should be really confident going into the end of the year, and especially 2024, because apparently there's a lot of talk of the whole side pods, but it's the front suspension that's had the most work, and the Merck technical team is coming out saying that that's where they have a lot of time to find relative to Red Bull.
Yeah, there has been a lot of chatter about the side pods, but everybody at Merck has basically said that wasn't really the issue. So I don't know. We'll see. I think what's also interesting though is Alpine's been putting in some results, and I'm curious to know. I think their stock is on the rise. I think Alpine is a team that maybe not necessarily Merck or Aston Martin should necessarily be concerned with, though they obviously keep them on the radar. But I think Ferrari needs to really, really be concerned with what Alpine's going to be able to do.
I was going to say no talk of Ferrari yet, but yeah, I think Ferrari needs to watch their backs there and start developing that car. Ferrari is due for an update soon as well, so let's see. If I were Alpine drivers, I'd be really happy, and I think more podiums will come this year. How about that? I'm not claiming it's going to be in Canada, but they've done well in past years. And beginning of the year in testing, I said that car's fast. It just needs everything to come together, and I think it slowly is.
It's coming together right now, I think.
Yep.
They look strong. I think they've been unfortunate to get hit with some penalties. I think Gasly, I think Pierre needs to kind of put it into a higher gear over, Esteban has been putting some decent performances, and not to say that Pierre hasn't, but I think that car has a lot more in it than we've seen so far this season.
I think his time will come, Pierre.
Okay.
In Monaco, he got screwed by strategy. Otherwise, he finishes in front of Lewis, I think. And last race, I think he got hard done by again. So I think if everything comes together and no penalties like in qualifying, you can't have 2 penalties like he did last time, because otherwise he was fighting for that podium.
Right.
They got a podium in Monaco, Francophone country. We're going back to another Francophone country now. Hey, let's make it a streak.
Technically, it's a province.
All right.
Anyway,
Right.
but as we talk about Alpine, we talked about P2, kind of that P3, P4 position.
Are we just kind of leaving Ferrari in no man's land?
Yeah, Ferrari's kind of in no man's land right now. I think they I don't really have much to say about them.
You guys won Le Mans now. Yeah, take it easy for a bit.
Yeah, I think it's let's not get our like I said, to paraphrase Rick James, hope is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, that describes for our Tifosi right now.
For sure.
I'll tell you what, Charles was actually at Le Mans, and he did say that he wanted to do it at some point. So maybe in 10 years we could see Max and Charles fighting in different category, which would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think it would be. Max, I think, would definitely go to that. And speaking of Max or do Le Mans, I think Charles would too. I think Charles would really love it. Speaking of Max, though, and I feel like this is a pretty quick point. Red Bull just looks fucking unbeatable right now, and there's not much else to say. Or at least Max looks unbeatable.
Yes.
Sorry, let's be clear.
I think Max is unbeatable right now. He legit is. I think he hasn't shown us everything. He will keep showing us how good of a driver he is this year by putting in brilliant performances. I don't know what to say unless he eats at the buffet, at 3 a.m. or has like a pizza gate like MJ had the flu game. I don't see Max dipping from his.
Yeah, but even the flu game, MJ still won.
That's right. Well,
he still showed up and won that game. So,
well, I'll tell you what, though, in F1 there are no timeouts to go use the bathroom. So
maybe he'll just shit his pants. I don't know if that happens. or throw up in his helmet and have to pull a George Russell. And
I think it's raining.
Yeah, it's raining vomit. No, man. Max looks unbeatable right now.
What do we think of Checo? Because I feel like we've buried him, but Checo still has a few things to prove this year, right?
Listen, Checo's still P2 in the championship.
Well, he fucking better be. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but I'm kind of looking at this as Red Bull as a whole. I mean, Checo has the ability to put a really great performance in, and I think he's going to put one in this weekend in Canada. I personally think we get into our stand championship. I have high hopes for Checo this weekend, but who I don't have high hopes for, and who it's not looking good for, Nick De Vries and Logan Sargent. And as we get into silly season, the two of these drivers are both out of contract next year. While I know it's both of their first seasons in F1 full time, at least for De Vries. Well, for both of them, but De Vries has had races before. I mean, yikes.
Right. And do you want to hear my theory?
Sargent could go the way of like an Alexander Rossi or a Scott Speed.
I think he's already raced more than Rossi, but
yeah, he has. That's true.
Here's what I think. I don't know if you remember Mercedes post-race commentary where both Lewis George, and Toto came out saying that Mick had put in some great work in the simulator till midnight back at the factory and then flew out 5 a.m. on Saturday for qualifying. I think they're slowly building the case because we know that the Merc boys have one of their own as team principal, James Vowles at Williams, who's already started.
Jimmy Vowles.
Jimmy.
Can you imagine he went by Jimmy?
Let's just Americanize everyone.
Yeah.
And it seems like maybe there could be a trade. This is all tinfoil conspiracy talk, but well, honestly, it's more of the Merc group. They're probably gunning for Sargent's seat next year and putting in their own Mick, which would make perfect sense. De Vries, I don't know, man. He needs to put in a performance where he really outperforms Yuki in a way that Helmut doesn't regret putting him in.
I'm telling you this, if he doesn't get start shaping up those results by the time we go on the summer break, he's out come Spa.
Yep. Silly season is always it's full of hope.
I don't even think that's silly though. I think
also
that's
brutal. Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a silly thing. I think that's
No.
more it's leaning on the side of likely.
If we were to put out who needs to watch the back the most, it's definitely Nick De Vries.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's probably, if we're talking about who needs a result this weekend, I think he's top of the list.
Yes. Don't put it in the wall, Nick.
Yeah, do not put it into the wall of champions because that will make you not a champion.
Speaking of needing results, the midfield, there's a few teams in the midfield that wouldn't mind some points. McLaren, after going through their fourth weekend of the year already with no points, are coming back from a really terrible race in Barcelona after some hopes in qualifying. And I think that the Papaya boys need to put in a result this weekend.
Yep. They need a result. They need to have a clean weekend.
Yeah.
Actually, they haven't, that's the thing. They haven't really, no one's really binned it at McLaren. And so maybe not clean weekend, but they need a result. They need to, they just haven't, they've lacked the consistency. And I think you might've said it on our last episode. It's like they showed one-off pace, but it's like at the end of the day, one-off pace doesn't get you shit.
Yeah. And it seems like there's a B-spec car coming up soon, and they are making some moves on the technical market as well with an ex Red Bull Rob Marshall coming in as a
there was a lot of chatter about the moves that are being made at McLaren right now. They did a whole press tour over the last week or so. Lando was out.
Unfortunately, you'll probably start seeing the results of these new appointees next year.
Right.
So, yeah, kind of like Merck, but in the midfield, they need to kind of set the direction of which way the car is going to be developed so that next year they really close that gap.
Yeah, 100%. I think I just there's not much I can say about McLaren other than what I just said. I think genuinely they need to kind of put their heads down, and they need to make it into Q3. Both drivers, that's really where this starts.
The field is pretty tight this year. I like to see them have more race pace. And I also like to see our boy Valtteri Bottas at Alpha. He's had a run of bad luck recently. He's damaged his floor in a couple of races, which has really affected his pace. And Alpha's kind of just, coasting in the back there. They've been making big announcements as well. But that those big announcements are in anticipation of that 2026 Audi coming in. So in the meantime, I'd like to see Alpha mix it up in the midfield. And Bottas, it seems like Bottas's social media game is really strong this year, but I want to see him put in those results as well on track.
Yeah, Valtteri 3.0, but it's not really doing much for him on track. I do love it, like the look, the confidence,
the new gin brand,
the gin. He's doing a little bit of everything. I do like that energy. BVE, big Valtteri energy, but let's definitely I think he's just comfortable. There isn't as much pressure there.
At one point he's going to have to start racing for a seat very soon.
Yep.
So
I would say so.
come on, Valtteri, give us a P8 this weekend. Come on, get some points.
Give us a P8. That's all we're asking for.
He'll take it.
Well, dude, I hate to bring it up.
Yeah.
But we got to get to the stand championship, and listen. You've won every year for
That's
the
right.
last, since we started doing this.
Which is 3 years.
Yeah,
in a row.
and right now I lead the Grandstand championship, 112-68.
That's right. So let's hear it. You go
Yeah,
first
man.
this weekend.
Yeah,
my
this week I
friend.
do go first. And by the way, that's 44-point difference. Team LH 44. What up?
It's a sign.
Sorry, that's so lame. I'm gonna go with Max on pole. I'm gonna go with Max P1, and I'm gonna go Checo P2. I think we see a Red Bull 1-2 this weekend.
Yo, back to the 1-2 ways. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I think we're gonna see Lewis P3.
Ooh.
And yeah, I think Fernando, it's not going to be it's not going to be the weekend you're talking it up to be. I think you're probably going to disagree with me on this. And then George and P5. And the Gromo, I think DeVries has a terrible weekend.
Ooh.
I think the pressure is on for him right now.
So he's sealing the deal there, you think?
I don't think it's going to be. Even if he doesn't get a Gromo, I don't think he has a good weekend.
Okay. Well, man, I already feel bad for the kid. Well, I think I'm going to go for Max on pole as well, because Max has just been flawless. Max wins as well. I think P2 will go to Alonso. I will put P3 for Lewis. I think that Checo comes in P4. There will be a lot of things happening in this race, I think. And we need to have Ferrari in the top 5, man, because I just feel like a traitor if I don't. Leclerc, P5, and the Gromo will go to DeVries.
Oh, wow. We're both going DeVries.
Yeah, that wall
It's a sign.
champion. Yeah.
None of us have gotten a Gromo. It's been a long time since either of us have gotten a Gromo. So if both of us are going for Nicky DeVries, maybe it's meant to be. But damn, dude, I'm excited for this race. I'm happy it's going to happen. There was definitely some nerves about whether it was going to happen. It would have been, I think the real conversation would have been, wow, now we've had 2 climate related incidents that have canceled F1 races this year. And I think that itself is a topic, but I'm excited for this race. We've got a buddy who's going to be there, Mr. John Diato, who's a fair weather Ferrari fan, if you ask me, but yeah, I called you out, John.
I'll let you guys.
He was absolutely nowhere this weekend when Ferrari was having their moment in Le Mans. So
yeah, no, he was not.
No, man. But I'm excited. I think you're excited for this race. It's always a good time in Canada, and make sure that you give us a follow anywhere anywhere podcasts are available at the Grandstand F1, and give our Instagram a little love. We've been posting some fun content also at the Grandstand F1. And for P Money, I'm F Knowles. We will see you après Canada.